We were live last evening, just shooting the shit. Things felt a little normal in the legacy media landscape. Fox News had settled with Dominion. You're like, damn, they're going to get off with a slap on the wrist. I'd made the joke, like, imagine how powerful you have to be to get $760 million settlement, and you just start going to walk it off. Well, looks like they had some other plans on the agenda this morning. Tucker Carlson out at Fox News. There will be no Tucker Carlson tonight.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is probably the last news I ever expected to hear this morning when I woke up, that Tucker Carlson has apparently been fired by Fox News. What the fuck? Totally unexpected. Like I said,
this completely changes the entire news media landscape. Not only was he the number one host on the most watched cable news network, I mean, he had the number one show. It was prime time, and he was absolutely burying the numbers of MSNBC and CNN. Now, this is not any kind of praise to Tucker. I think he's vile. I think he's a liar. I think that he is a sociopath, and he just, regurgitates what his audience wants to hear. I mean, there have been so many examples of him just like scoffing at what he actually says on air, laughing at the idiot fools that listen to him. But, that's his whole game, right? With him being gone, you almost have to wonder what is going to happen to that network. They're basically going to just go down the same path of MSNBC and CNN. And it's going to be, along the lines of like when Rachel Maddow left MSNBC, but worse. I mean, I feel like Tucker Carlson at this point, like, sure, Sean Hannity, there are others, but yeah, right. Gutfeld. No, that actually is more popular than basically anything on MSNBC or CNN, which is absolutely ridiculous to think about. I remember when we watched the first like premiere trailer for that, and we were like, you have to be on opiates and like out of your mind to think that this is at all reasonable entertainment. But if you're not a victim of big pharma, that might not be the entertainment for you. But that's what Fox News has gone full bore in. So I just think that now, and actually, Gavin, if we can really quickly pull up that LA Times piece again, there's one part of this that I think stands out a lot, because a lot of people are speculating that it's related to the Dominion voting settlement. But if we scroll down here, this article clarifies with some individuals that were familiar with the matter. It says a Fox News representative that had no other details on Carlson's exit. People familiar with the situation who were not authorized to comment publicly said the decision to fire Carlson came straight from Fox News Corp's chairman, Rupert Murdoch. Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed by Abby Grossberg, the producer fired by the network last month. The People said Carlson's senior executive producer, Justin Wells, has also been terminated, according to people familiar with the matter. A Fox News representative would not comment. So this is the woman that said that she was subject to anti-Semitic comments working on the set of Tucker Carlson. And that's what this, this more than likely is related to. It says Murdoch is also said to be concerned over Carlson's coverage of the January 6, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, in which the host has promoted the conspiracy theory. So it's not like unrelated, but I imagine that this is about to be like his like second major strike, and Murdoch's like, I can't have this anymore. Or, it was also speculated by some people, perhaps it was demanded. I think it was actually Robbie that was from The Hill that was speculating that like maybe they demanded he come out with a statement that he wasn't going to come out with. And so then it was like that was what forced them to sever their ties. But it looks like it's pretty clearly about this discrimination lawsuit.
Yeah, that's super important stuff, because obviously we have a lot of, Tucker Carlson simps out here, totally unserious people acting like they fired him because he was speaking the truth. Here's some revolutionaries, some revolutionary Tucker defenders. Tucker Carlson wasn't fired because of the Dominion lawsuit. Fox News found a way to get rid of him because his stance on the Ukraine war. And then here's another. And he had Glenn Greenwald on to defend black socialists. Like I said, these pathetic simps are trying to pretend like Tucker Carlson was fired for he just crossed the line. He said what wasn't allowed to be said. Yada, yada, yada. Which is complete bullshit. You think Fox News gives a fuck about that? No. Tucker Carlson was by far the highest rated host across all networks, as our friend in the chat points out. You think they would have thrown all of that money and relevance away over the fact that he had on Glenn Greenwald to talk about black socialists? Come on, come on. That's not the case. That's not the case. They would not have thrown away their top talent over that.
It's because he defended black socialists, Gavin. Actually, Tucker Carlson is the real vanguard. You're the fake vanguard, okay? Jesus Christ. I can't believe that. I can't believe that. Like, I understand, like, oh, the argument, like, you have to go on to Tucker Carlson's show and engage with him because, you know, it's important to reach his audience, right? Multiple people that we like, you know, my own girlfriend has been on Tucker Carlson and discussed, debated, whatever, their ideas with him. I don't have any problem with that. But this complete misrepresentation of everything he's ever stood for the decades plus that he's been recorded and put on air for a fucking wide audience. I mean, it's just ridiculous to say that this man was fired because of him sticking his neck out there for black socialists or any socialists at all.
Right. It's really wild to see people pretending to be leftists praising Tucker Carlson, because as Ben Norton reminds us on Twitter, Tucker Carlson applied to join the CIA. He traveled to Nicaragua to support the CIA's fascist Contra death squads. He is the son of the head of a CIA propaganda front. He constantly lobbies for war on China to this day. He supports the colonialist Monroe Doctrine in Latin America. Recently, he was churning out Bolsonaro propaganda pieces that were falsely claiming that Lula was a criminal. This person is not a leftist. Anyone who calls themselves a leftist should not be praising him or acting like he's some sort of truth teller because, you know, a broken clock is right twice a day or whatever. In 2006, white supremacist neo-colonialist Tucker Carlson said, Iraq is a crappy place filled with a bunch of semi-literate primitive monkeys. I have zero sympathy for them or their culture where people don't use toilet paper or forks. They can just shut the fuck up and obey. That's truth teller, anti-establishment Tucker Carlson right there. While meddling in Brazil, making propaganda for fascist Bolsonaro, Tucker Carlson complained, under Biden, the Monroe Doctrine is no longer enforced. And this was like 4 months ago, by the way, praising the 200-year-old colonial policy. He also spread the new Cold War propaganda, fear-mongering about China, which is a fixture of his show. I'm sure you guys remember the throne of Chinese skull comments. The point is, this is no truth teller. This is no leftist. He's not even really anti-establishment. To whatever extent he is, it's all just a ruse. It's all just,
smoke and mirror.
Fool populist minded people out there into thinking that he's the one that actually is looking out for them or actually is speaking for them, when of course it's all just branding. And like I said, that's not why. That has nothing to do with why he's been fired. His political positions, the fact that he's against the war in Ukraine or whatever, nothing to do whatsoever with his firing. Carlson's exit is related to the discrimination lawsuit filed by Abby Grossberg, a producer fired by the network last month, people said. Carlson's senior executive producer, Justin Wells, has also been terminated, according to people familiar with the matter. And we mentioned that a second ago. Let's find out a little bit more about this fired producer. A former Fox News producer has altered her deposition testimony in the defamation case against the network, claiming she was coerced by company lawyers to give misleading answers. Abby Grossberg was fired by Fox News days after she filed her lawsuit in New York and Delaware that alleged discrimination based on gender, religion, and disability. Her suit claims she was bullied and subjected to sexist and anti-Semitic comments while working as head of booking for the Fox News program Tucker Carlson Tonight. So that really does seem to be the reason why he was fired. Apparently, he was being an anti-Semitic bigot behind the scenes and making problematic comments to one of his colleagues. Something that, by the way, would also get you fired in basically any other line of work you would find yourself in. So we don't have to invent fucking conspiracy theories about how he was silenced by the CIA or something. No, he literally committed a fireable offense by making anti-Semitic and sexist comments to a coworker, someone that was the head of booking for his program. And now, because of the fact that Fox News is wrapped up in litigation surrounding that allegation, he's been let go.
Yep, 100%. Look, and he could have been fired for any number of things beforehand, right? Like, obviously, he was a big draw, and I bet he behaved like it, right? But the fact that he was, so flagrantly, I don't know, coy, and I don't know. He the way that he approached the entire January 6th insurrection, and the way that he talked about the election denialism, and the way that he kind of like really fanned the flames about that, dog whistled, if you will, right? He signaled to those groups all the time, and then obviously in private was had a completely different tone, took a completely different position, like would, constantly say like, oh, I wish we could stop talking about Trump. But he's not a fucking idiot. He knew Trump was his bread and butter. He was just trying to save face off air, right? Keep this illusion of, oh, I'm actually a really nice guy. I just have these questions, kind of a persona that he likes to go for, I imagine, when he's off air. But the real Tucker Carlson comes out. You guys, I'm sure you saw it going around again recently. There was the Dutch gentleman, the journalist that was at Davos talking about how, everything else is bullshit. You guys need to pay your taxes. This was a couple of years ago. And then he calls out Tucker when he's doing a segment with them, and Tucker like loses his mind and he's like, fuck you. And, starts like mauling completely. Maybe we can pull it up if we find it quickly enough. But anyway, long story short, that's when you get the real Tucker Carlson. This dude's nasty. This dude will do anything, say anything. And he'd probably already crossed a plethora of lines, and whether and a lot of people will point and argue and say like, oh well, he actually didn't do as much of the election denialism as other people on Fox News. It doesn't really matter when you're the face of the organization. He's going to be the one that causes them a fuck ton of grief about it, because everybody is going to be looking at Tucker Carlson. And so Murdoch is a businessman, okay, and if he sees another massive lawsuit settlement coming down and another massive, this could be 3 potential ginormous lawsuits, because they just settled the Dominion one. They have the other lawsuit with the defamation, and then now they have the Abby Grossberg lawsuit. So that's these are all massive problems for Murdoch, okay? And I think he was just like, look, dude, like, you got to do something to, back us out of this, or you're fired. And I think Tucker was like, fuck you. And then so now he's fired. Or maybe it was even more than that. Maybe they didn't even give him a chance to play ball. They just said, get the fuck out of here. I read somewhere that people were speculating that during Discovery, some of the things that Tucker Carlson had said about management at Fox News may have been surfaced, and that could have pissed off. Some of the comments that Carlson made about management and communications that turned up in Discovery process for the case may have also played a role in Carlson's demise. Yeah, he could have talked shit on Murdoch, and that would be a big no-no. Okay, you know how he's always playing that game where he likes to pretend that the rich and powerful control the media? Not to valorize him. Jesus Christ, he doesn't deserve it. He doesn't actually believe it. He was sucking from their teat all along. But yeah, I imagine he got too big for his britches, said some shit about his big bosses, and got the boot. The other thing that we haven't really talked about, Gavin, was the fact that he could be wrapped up in all kinds of non-compete clauses. So if he does get fired just outright, they could, kind of shackle him and keep him from, working at any of their competitors. It could also include like them, not allowing him to do a podcast for an amount of time, not something that I really ever normally agree with. But of course, Tucker Carlson has spent his entire life advocating for big business. Never found a big business that he didn't like until like a couple of years ago when he thought he could pretend he didn't. This bow tie wearing buffoon. Oh yeah, I actually hate rich people. Fucking no, you don't. Anyway, I just think that this is all glorious.